and welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast with me, Mark Fitzgerald. And I have a special guest joining me here today who I am delighted to have with me. Holly Jennings is here, and Holly has an interesting story and also an interesting system and CRM tool that her and her partner have designed that really blew me away when I first saw it. Holly is a property investor herself. Her and her soon-to-be husband have been investing for the last 5 years in the Sheffield area, and they've been covering a multiple different topics, different strategies in building their own portfolio. But what they did find was that they were struggling to have a system that could help support them in their property journey. So they created a system called the Property Pipeline. Now, the Property Pipeline is a property-specific CRM system which was launched 3 years ago, and it can really help property investors, deal sourcers, people on the ground with their day-to-day systems and CRM. Holly, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to
it's great
chatting with you.
That's what it's all about here. That's what it's all about. So I've given people a brief intro about your good self, but can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So so basically we started out on our property journey 5 years ago. We originally were down in London, and we did maybe what most people tend to do, or if not, I guess we advise them to doing it ourselves, but go into education, and we learnt about property. So at that stage, I don't think there was any confidence in me or knowledge to be able to buy a property at that stage. I thought, no way can I do this. Did the education, learned what I needed to learn. That took me to Sheffield, so we're now based in Sheffield, and we've been growing a portfolio for ourselves, but also for other people. So we've done things like sourcing for others, management, and all that at the same time as growing. And we've done everything from like buy-to-lets, HMOs, SAs, rent to SAs, all those types of things. And as you say, along the way, we were a bit like, well, we have to have a system for this or notes for that and folders for this and that, and then that kind of led us onto the Property Pipeline journey, which started over 3 years ago now, and that's led us to here. So that's kind of in a nutshell, really.
That's good. So what did you do before, so to speak, getting involved in property?
So my background was in beauty, aesthetics. So it was I've done a bit of everything. I'm one of these little kind of nomads moving around. So I used to kind of lecture in a college. I've worked on the cruise ships as a masseuse. I've been clinic managers. I was actually a corporate manager for basically a cosmetic surgery group called Transform. I work with doctors on Harley Street with skincare and products, and I just love anything to do with kind of health within the skin. So that was kind of my background. So property was completely different. But I kind of found along the way other kind of entrepreneurial people, because I went along on my own after that and became a consultant. And what I found very quickly was I need the mindset for this stuff. On your own, never having to do accounts before or marketing, all the companies I'd worked for kind of did all that for me. I just had to come and bring, my knowledge of skin. So for me, that was a bit of a mindset shift before I did the property. And through that mindset, reading all the books, I came across Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I think maybe a lot of people in property are aware of that book. And that then led me to some training. And then I was like, wow, there's no way with what I do can I earn money at night. What happens if I got ill? If I got unwell? It's just grafting, exchanging time for money at the time. So I did that, but then that made me realize that I don't know if I could do this forever. No matter how much I love it, it can't be the answer. So I was seeking at that time to find other ways, multiple streams of income, and that's kind of where the property then came in.
Okay, that's excellent. And are your properties all in the same area, or do you have them across the country or anything?
Just Sheffield. We were kind of like, at the time when we were learning, just told to kind of be really good at one thing in a way. Like if we diluted everything, if we went different places, you've got to have more knowledge of the area and everything like that. And we have kind of expanded a little bit out of Sheffield, but and we've worked with other people to source properties from Liverpool. We did actually do a deal in Liverpool and put it into an auction and stuff like that. But we like to be around it at the moment. I think moving forwards, like our next step is we're doing 6 months traveling next year. At that point, we might be working with other people and expand, because I think if you can start to learn to work from anywhere, then in a way the properties can be anywhere as well. But as we were kind of growing our little portfolio, we felt more comfortable keeping everything in-house. We are kind of working with other people now, but it's nice that if anything happens, we're not that far away. So it's quite a nice thing.
Good, it's good. I mean, we met at a networking event that we were both talking at. We were both doing presentations at, and it was quite funny because obviously I did my talk and I said, you'll never find one system that fits everything. Just find different systems and use what works in your own business. Yeah. And you were like, almost put your hand up as if to say, well, hang on a minute, you haven't seen this yet. So that's why I was keen to talk to you and obviously find out more about the property pipeline system that you have there, because I have been, when I first started on my property journey, investing and building up my portfolio, you do get to that point where you're sort of plugging different things in and they're not quite right for you. They don't quite do that element that you need when it comes to property, because a lot of CRM systems, of course, are built for businesses. And then we try and incorporate, that bit of marketing or that bit of tenant management, and you end up with loads of little different systems. So is that really what made you guys put this together? Because that's quite extreme to build your own sort of tech, because it's not cheap either to build the technology and things. And I have to say that one of my mentors did say to me that in his property business, he built a system, but he spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on it. He says, I could just never get it right. But looking at your system, I can see that you have got it right. So, there must have been some good trial and error with that.
Yeah, so I guess how it started. So Nick, my partner, he's IT background, and he still works within the telecoms industry with that, but he's so clever, and he must hate me for saying this, but literally I say nothing's a no. He can always resolve and create something. So what was great was when we first moved to Sheffield, I was able to leave my job, because just moving from London to Sheffield meant, the rent difference was insane at the time. We were like spending 1,500 a month on rent, and then the rent was now 510 or something. So we were like, right, well, that's kind of almost my, as they call, financial freedom figure. It's given me a little bit of ease. They've got less kind of going out, so I can do property full time. So I was on the ground. So I was doing the viewings, getting out there, putting offers in. And I would come back pretty much every single day and be like, Nick, please, please, please help me create something that does this or do this and this and this. So over time, within the first 2 years, Nick was kind of putting things together and I was just using it. And that was kind of how it all started. So we were literally tweaking it. And as I mentioned before, we've done sourcing, we've done lettings management, we've done refurb management, we've done building our portfolio, we've done different strategies. So as we were growing over those 2 years, we were adapting. And we also have a great network of friends that are now friends, but at the time, meeting people and finding out their struggles. So we got to a point where, especially in lockdown, we were just like, do you know what, if this works for us, this could really help other people, because there isn't really anything quite like it, really. The fact that it can do all, and it's all interlinked, and obviously I'll share with you later how you can kind of see it, but you have to kind of see it all come together to understand what I'm saying, I guess, visually. But yeah, so when we launched it, what happened then is we had lots of people feeding back or like, oh, don't suppose you could do this or this and this. So now it's been 3 years on from then, it's even more improved. We've worked with so many other investors in so many other strategies and other kind of scenarios, and that's, I think that's the biggest challenge, I think, with CRM systems, is because everyone's so individual. Like everyone's challenges or strategies or ideas or all the different scenarios that can happen within property, and we feel like we've got to a point where we can pretty much achieve a lot of them, and we're still growing and improving to ensure that we can do the rest as well.
No, that's good. That's good. And of course, I mean, we went through the demonstration of it, and yeah, I wasn't expecting half of what it had. Actually, it's almost like I thought we were nearly done, and then you all of a sudden open up this other tabs and stuff, and everything's there, and it's like your tenant, it can go in here, all your certificates go there. It really is a one-stop shop for going out, talking to landlords, following up, making notes, everything in one place. And that's what really, really impressed me. And that's why, one of the reasons why it's great to have you on, to be able to share this with the listeners as well, because when you get started in property, you want to keep things as cheap as possible in most cases. But and I actually think this is really, really cost effective as well. I mean, if I'd have known about this when I'd started, because I am one of these people that spreadsheets, but I'm all over the place and I've got bits of paper here, there, and everywhere, and I'm great at going out, negotiating, finding deals and things like that. But the back end of it isn't my speciality, and I've used different CRM systems, and most of them, apart from the ones that my VAs use now, which they use more than me, and I can just look at it and it points me in the right direction, I still don't know how to actually put something in it. It's just, for me, it's just not self-intuitive, so to speak. I just need a button that says start here and follow this process. And of course, you guys have done that. But I mean, it really can work for anybody, can it? I mean, deal sources, it would be an absolute gem for, with the follow-up systems, the marketing systems and things, rent-to-rent operators, if they're doing HMOs, you can store all your tenancies on there, all of your certificates and things. And the list actually goes on. That's just a couple of the things that I can still remember off the top of my head. But I mean, for you guys now, I mean, obviously maintaining it, building it, suiting it for everybody's capability, it really is for property professionals, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% specifically designed for anyone in property. Whatever you're doing, it is so adaptable. And yes, as you mentioned, there's loads of things like that, but there's things like calculators. So if you're not great with numbers, especially when you're starting out, like I remember it took me hours to be like, is that right? Because I just wasn't that great with the numbers to begin with. I honestly think that it probably took me a good year to be confident in my numbers. But now if you're starting out, it's literally a click of a button, and you've got the answer that you need, and you've got things like deal sheets. So instead of trying to create something on Canva and taking so much time, and for me, I'm very visual, but I'm not very creative. And if I was, again, how long is it going to take for me to create some sort of Word document or Canva thing to send out to my investors or JV partners? And this can just be with a click of a button. It exports all the data that's already there into something that's just done for you. So it's like all those little bits that kind of come together that really helps anybody. And I think the biggest question maybe not biggest question, more of the biggest response I kind of get is, oh, I'm new and I don't have any property, so it's not for me. And I'm like, actually, it's exactly for you. And to prove that, we created a 2-week challenge for anyone that's starting out, as well as people, within their journey like us, but just to show how they can integrate it and actually get offers accepted. And we've just had a post on social media recently where literally one of our investor friends who was like, I haven't bought a house, whatever. She did the 2-week challenge and literally got an offer accepted back in January. She's just got the keys a week ago, and it's her first property. And she's been using the system to build it, to get the data, to make her life easier and make it clearer and all of that stuff. Just amazing.
And it is one of those things that once you know what you're doing, it's just, it's easy to input things. It's easy for the follow-up. And I think a lot of people as well, when they're particularly starting out, and this is going back to me, is you can speak to different landlords and you can think, oh, this isn't a deal for me right now. But that's normally because you're new and maybe you just don't know how to structure it. It probably is a deal, but maybe you're just looking at doing rent to rent. So you're looking at it as a rent to rent. You've got your rent to rent goggles on, or glasses, and that's it. But maybe it's a purchase lease option. Maybe it's something else. But of course, if you haven't got the confidence to do that, but by putting it into this and saying to yourself, I tell you what, leave that, park that for now. We'll worry about that later. But giving yourself a reminder to be able to tell you to go back and have a little look at this. You might sit back after a week or something and think, do you know what? It's not going to stack the way I'm trying to do it, but your mind works for you, doesn't it? So I think putting it all into one place and having the reminders, giving you a little nudge here or there to say, go and follow up with this person. Maybe their deal or deal that you were doing says no. And of course, other CRM systems can do that sort of thing for you. But it's the fact that you haven't got to use another CRM system to then maybe manage any tenancies that you want to do, or any of your, like you say, making your brochures and things, because a lot of the times you have to jump from system to system, whereas this has everything there. So do you want to tell us, I know you're running one of these challenges soon, and of course it's free for people to get access to the property pipeline system itself and trial it for free, but you also run a challenge alongside to help people take the steps, don't you?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, it's free for a month to use the system, but within the 2 weeks, we work with you every day for an hour, 7:30 to 8 p.m. every evening. It's recorded as well. The first week is the most important because it's really getting all the basics right, getting out there, and we actually set you lots of homework, lots of tasks and challenges. And whoever wins that challenge is based around the person that's actually utilized the system the most, like really used it in every kind of part you can imagine, all the folders, because it's not just like, oh, there's a big overwhelming system. We're literally hand holding you all the way through with your day to day, but it's about getting that offers in, actually taking the action. It's all well and good, you know, we all learn, we all can do that, but then we really need to do the do. We need to pick up that phone, we need to put the offers in, and we help you do that with the system. We put the follow-ups in, we follow up, and it's honestly, it's been so successful with offers accepted. So it's just such a good boost and everything like that. So when we do that, the winnings can be for accountability, for attendance. You can get free subscriptions of the system, and if you have the most activity as well as put in the most offers as well and the most action in general, you can win the £100 Amazon voucher, which for me, if I had that, I'd be using all my Audibles and, you know, get all my books and stuff because I just love a good book. So yeah, that's basically it. And it's this nice little community for the 2 weeks where you're not alone. And I know everyone has their own little group where they've got their kind of momentum, but it's to really access this system and not be left alone in the sense of if you used any other CRM system, as you were mentioning, they're clunky, you don't have a human there helping you. It's all kind of just, you got to figure it out and create it yourself. Whereas here it's just done for you, handheld, simple. Love it.
It's what I like. That's the sort of thing that I love at the end of the day, because why does everything doesn't have to be complicated, does it? But what we're going to do is I will put links in the show notes for this challenge as well. It's starting on the 17th of July. So you've got a few days to register your place and get yourself into position. But I absolutely love the fact that, you know, you put these challenges on, that you're out there. Very much like myself, I like to try and help people because, you know, you don't have to do this on your own. And property, as you know yourself, can be a very, very lonely place. So it's about building communities up. It's about supporting people. And of course, it's trial and error. Go out there, try it, see if it's right for you, see if you're getting massive value from it. And I have to say, and I am going to mention the price, because when you showed me all of this, I still didn't know how much it was going to be on a monthly level. And I was, my thing was always, this is going to be over £100 a month, this easily. And then you hit me with this price, and I was just like, what, for the first month, or is that sort of ongoing? And you know, I'll let you share that with the people.
Yeah, of course. So you get all that for £29.99 a month, but you can have up to 5 users. So if you're working with somebody else, they also get a login and their own calendar and everything that you have included in that cost. So it's not £29.99 times 5, it's just £29.99 for up to 5 people in your business. So you can have your VAs on there working with you, PAs, you know, anyone like that you can bring on board to help grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And of course, if you do have VAs like my good self, then maybe get them on a challenge as well. Get them to come on the challenge and learn the systems. Holly will show them how to use everything. So it is a great opportunity. It's, you know, the challenge is free as well. And that's one of the reasons, as I say, I wanted to get Holly on just to talk about that. And we will share links. We'll make sure everything is everywhere. And if you can't get hold of Holly or myself, or you can get hold of me if you can't get hold of Holly, and I can point in the right direction, because I think it's well worth trying. And of course, even if you can't make every night, which I would say try and get it into your calendar and try and do so, you've got the recordings that you can go back over, and it's only 30 minutes of your time as well.
Yeah, it's not long in the evenings, and even if you can just do the first week, you'll get the results that you need for your property business, for your journey that you're on.
Yeah, brilliant. So, I mean, you do quite a few different strategies in the property world. And do you have any particular strategy that you really enjoy more than the others? Because, you know, there's certain things that I enjoy more in my business than other things. But what is it for you?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that's a tough one. So I guess we have a little podcast, a book club podcast, and I'm very honest about it. I would definitely say like property has never been my passion. You know, I do find it hard actually, hence why I love having the system, because it really helps doing a lot of it for me. But I would say my favorite bits is more the refurb more than anything. Doesn't matter what we do, it's the refurb, it's that seeing something that's really old, run down and broken and creating it to this high level beautiful thing is just, I love that bit, really do. That reminds me of when I was really young, watching all the Homes Under the Hammer and be like, oh, I remember sitting there like on the sofas watching it when I was younger thinking, oh, I'd love to do that one day, but never believed that could ever be me, if you know what I mean. So it's definitely those things. But I mean, yeah, buy-to-lets, I think I love because they're simple. HMOs, not a fan of managing them. We outsource the management now because there's just more things that there's more changeovers, more things that can happen. But I'd love the cash flow that they give us. And then, but what we've been really focusing on at the moment is kind of getting our bigger houses and turning them into flats. That's been awesome because the transformation on those are just completely different. And then we like to SA them out, basically. So yeah, I haven't really answered that question very well, have I? Because it's a bit of everything, but I think maybe not the strategy, but more the transformation is just the best bit for me.
I know it's good as well because it sort of gives us a bit more of an insight into, you know, what you're good at, what you enjoy in property, and of course what you're doing, which is always good. So just rolling back a minute, I probably should have asked this a bit further, you know, down in the conversation. What made you come up here? What made you move? Was it your partner, or was it just business, or what was it?
It was me being like, need to make this work. Because in London, I mean, we were traveling up from the February 2018 to the September 2018 every single weekend. We didn't see friends, we didn't see family. It was 3 hours up, 3 hours back, all like trying to fit 10 to 12 viewings in a day, you know, all that on a Saturday to then get back. But it was more of a, well, why? Like, we chose Sheffield because we did like stats basically on, you know, the demand for the area, price increases, like the price now and all that kind of stuff. So that was why we chose it. And also one person did tell us back then, wherever you choose, you've got to love where it is. You've got to love it, because if you keep going to a place that you don't like every weekend, it's going to be pretty dire. So we love Sheffield. We thought it was brilliant. We loved the pubs, the restaurants, the bars, the people. And literally after, you know, just 3 months doing it every single weekend, we were like, why don't we just move? Because one, the rent, as I've already mentioned. Two, Nick's IT, he can work from anywhere. And me at the time, I wasn't planning on doing property full time from that moment. I was just thinking, well, I'm a therapist, and the whole reason why I did beauty in the first place is because my main passion is travel. And I wanted to have something that I could take everywhere with me, anywhere, and still be able to work if I had to. So I was like, well, I could work anywhere as well. So that's why we did it. So we moved to Sheffield, worked from the new location, but quite quickly realised that, hang on a minute, I could be doing this full time and really speeding up our success and processes and get to our end goals, get to our 5-year plan type thing. And that's where we are now at the end of the 5-year plan. We need to do a new plan now. The next challenge.
Well, that's it. You've always got to have a plan, haven't you? Always got to have a challenge. And I'm very much the same. I mean, I was born in Croydon. I lived there till I was 10, and then we moved to Bath. That's where I grew up. That's why I sound like a farmer, because that was the young age. But a friend of mine, he had 4 rental properties in Bristol, and this was the back end of 1990 odd, so about 1998 or something. He sold his 4 properties and he moved up to Wath-upon-Dearne, which isn't far away from Sheffield, Rotherhamy area. Yeah. And he bought 12 buy-to-lets and then semi-retired because of the difference in price. Absolutely unbelievable. And when we moved from Bath up here, we bought our first house, 3-bed semi-detached, for 48 grand. And this was in 2000. So, before, obviously, the prices were still going up and everything was happening, but it is. And I have to say, and this is not having a go at Southerners, as I am a Southerner myself by blood, by growing up, it's friendlier. People are friendlier up here, aren't they?
Yeah. I come from Plymouth, and everyone was friendly in Plymouth, and they said morning, and that's what I was used to. And I remember when I first went to London for work, I would say morning, and they just looked at me as if I was like gonna rob them or something. And I was like, oh, I don't get it. But the longer I lived there, I kind of started to understand why, certain reasons why people were a bit like, closed off kind of thing. But yeah, I was treated quite poorly and quite rudely. And it was really like, ooh. And then when I came to Sheffield, it was like back to a bit like how Plymouth was. And literally everyone says hi to you. Everyone's mourning, everyone's kind. The first person I met from my build team was a painter. I met him at a viewing, and I was like, oh, there's a little trades team here viewing a property, and I need one of those. So I was like, oh, hi. We're coming up here soon, and just wondering if you guys, do work for others, not just for yourself. And they were like, yeah. And we just got really pally with this painter. Anyway, he said, when you move up here, he said, we'll take you out and we'll take you on the town. So we'll show you around, and I'll introduce you to my team. And I was like, oh, sweet, that would be lovely. Okay, thank you. So we texted him and said, right, we're here, we're ready type thing. And he was like, great, we've got a date in the diary and we'll meet you at this bar. And we're like, cool. Got there, and literally he was like, so here's my team. And he was like, here's my mum. She's like 70s, 80s. Here's my kids. Here's my wife. Here's all the people we go football with. And it was just like, and he genuinely meant his family, his friends. And I was just like, oh, okay, thinking, well, there's no plaster or electrician here, but hey, I'm meeting loads of people. And actually, one of the couples we met that night, the girl is now one of my bridesmaids.
Oh,
5 years
nice.
on. And it's like a family. It's just so friendly. They really welcome you. And it's lovely, because I never got that kind of warm welcome, unfortunately, in London. Everyone's almost too busy to, or too scared to. I don't know what it is.
It's a different beast. It is definitely a different animal down there. I think everybody is in such a hurry. I mean, I was in London at the weekend. I went out and had a nice day out with my dad and my sister. And, whilst there's people there that do say hello and things, more often than not, everybody's just so focused on what they're doing. Whereas I do think they're a bit more laid back here.
Yeah.
I like it. Everybody says to me, well, would you come back down south? I don't think I would, not to live. I don't mind visiting, but I enjoy it up here. And like you say, you can walk along, and if you catch eye contact with somebody, I would honestly say 9 times, maybe even 10, but 9 times out of 10, you'll get a smile and or up, or how's it going, or a hello, won't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember Nick said back then, because he didn't really want to move, I had to really drag him here at the time. He was like, I'll never leave London. And then I asked him, like, about a year or so in, he was like, oh no, I don't know whether I could go back now.
It's
Not
crazy.
too much. And again, just like, you've got so many beautiful places, and everything I feel like is within an hour from here. Like anywhere in an hour, you're somewhere else, and it's so beautiful. You can see a lot more of the UK. We're quite central in a way. So yeah, I do. It is pretty awesome.
That's good. That's good. So you mentioned as well that you have a podcast where you have a little book club. Feel free to talk about that, because I'm always interested in books.
Yeah. So such a book lover, but also very much about that accountability thing. I do love a book. I love an Audible, but if I'm not speaking to someone about the book once a week, I don't always do it. Like, I've had it once where Anna Fisher, who's based up in near Sunderland way, Whitley Bay, she does hotels and things like that, and we kind of met at like a networking group, and she always wanted to do some sort of podcast and didn't have the confidence to do it, and we kind of helped each other. We were like our accountability buddies. So I just pushed her. I was like, do it. She was like, I just can't. And I was like, yes, you can. I was like, we'll just do it together. And I was like, well, why don't we do the book club? Because if I don't do that, I don't actually read the books. I am actually quite bad at it. So then it just started to become this kind of weekly chat about a book, and then we'll do a different book, and it's just been consistent for over a year now, and we've got a great little following. We've got a little Facebook page. It's called Shelf Improvement, and it's this mindset and property entrepreneurial. There's some woo-woo stuff in there as well, all of that kind of thing, as well as actual structural stuff. One of my favorites, Atomic Habits. Love that one. Just a little bit at a time, don't overwhelm yourself, that kind of thing. But yeah, it started out, again, very much like Property Pipeline, something that's kind of selfishly for me, that helped me, but it's actually really helped so many other people as well, stay accountable, get the books in, and feel part of something as well.
No, I think that's great. And one of the big things I say is, there's always going to be problems, or there's always going to be things that aren't quite working for you. But if you can find solutions for those for yourself, then, majority of the time, you can help somebody else with it, because they'll have the same problems. It's not like we're all aliens or anything like that. We all have the same problems. We all have the same issues. So I think by incorporating it and then sharing it is actually really, really nice. I did the same with my, so to speak, my training programs as well. I saw a lot of people are doing training and things, but they're not actually building up the community that can help and support people to make sure that they're doing good deals, not just going out there grabbing any old thing. And I think that's massive. So by solving a bit of a problem where I couldn't see anybody else doing this sort of thing in the detail that we've done it at, you've done the same with your CRM systems, and of course with your little podcast. Well, I say little podcast, with your podcast as well. I don't mean to be patronizing or anything like that. I got a little podcast. I always think podcasts are small, even if it's millions of followers and things. But I always say little podcasts, because podcast, it's just an audio, isn't it? But I do like that. I'm going to listen to that myself, because and a lot of my listeners will resonate particularly with the books, because Atomic Habits is fabulous, because how often do you look back at your life and you think to yourself, do you know what? I made a habit out of that. Now, whether it was a good habit or a bad habit, I still incorporated that. And at pretty much the same time, every day I sort of do the same thing, and it's instilled in me. So why not be able to try and change those to new healthy habits? And I love reading a book that I can resonate with and say, do you know what? I am doing that, but not in the good way. I need to flip it on its head and get rid of those bad habits and things. But that's great. But I just, as I say, the property pipeline itself is great. And what would you say, for like deal sources? So we get a lot of people listening to this that are obviously looking at rent to rent, HMOs or serviced accommodation. We also get a lot of deal sources, along with a lot of other investors. But for rent to rent specifically, because I talk a lot about rent to rent. If they were going to come to you now and say, I've got a bit of a rent-to-rent portfolio, or I'm getting started in rent-to-rent, do you think that the property pipeline would be a really good option for them to use?
Yeah, 100%, because they can get all the leads, because they're going to be finding vendors, finding landlords. So you've got all their contacts, you can follow up with them, build a relationship, you can upload documents, agreements, you can do the calculations, as I mentioned, as a rent to SA or rent to HMO, any of those calculations. You've also got the management side. So I went to 2 of our rent to SAs the other day, and I got there, and lockbox codes change, cleaners come and go, there's different things, and you're not going to remember all the properties that you have all at once, especially if you're busy and you're kind of going there. So you literally used it for lockbox codes the other day. I used it for viewing a property, showing somebody around. There's also reminders of things like pat testings or different checks that you want to do. In things like rent to rent, if you're doing, I keep saying specifically SA, but it could be anything, but you might actually put in all your utilities in there as well, like, your white goods also. So you can put things like make, model, warranty, if it's got a 3-year warranty, all those things. And it is so surprising. We've had a washing machine in one of our buy-to-lets. It's been there almost 3 years, and it was a 3-year warranty. And literally, like about a month ago, it had a bit of a leak. And what's great is, where is that paperwork? Come on, it's like 3 years ago. It's going to be in a filing cabinet somewhere. So you just think, where is it? So I literally went onto the system, put in the address, and there it was underneath services, washing machine, the make, the model, the call out number, everything I needed. And in fact, it was so good that I just got my VA to sort it out. I didn't need to do it because the information's there. You can have your local cleaner contacts linked to the properties, your little maintenance people linked to the properties. So again, if anything happens, that person that normally goes to fix the tap or whatever. So there is so much you can do to manage it, oversee it, and also find them and work it, really work it to get the deals that you want, and as many as you can.
Oh, yes. I have to say, you brought it up. There is nothing worse than turning up at your property and the lockbox lock has been changed. The code's been changed, and it's just like, oh, no. And then you're trying to get hold of who's changed it to this. So, yeah, I mean, that's an absolute godsend. I think what you're saying there as well with your warranties and, your certificates and everything, having reminders to tell you when, your gas certificate's going to be running out. It can let you know a month beforehand, right? That needs to be booked in. And of course, I always say build your property portfolio as a business. So systemize it so that other people can help you, whether you have a VA, whether your life partner's helping you, or a friend, or just another business partner. It's if they can go straight in there, tap into it, and somebody can update something, put it into the system, and everybody knows. And I think the other thing is you can put the descriptions, of course, of your properties, which I think is brilliant for if you've got a virtual assistant. Now, my VAs, they deal with spare room. So they will deal with the adverts and everything. And sometimes, obviously, they say, you know, how many bedrooms is in this house? These VAs have never set foot in this country, let alone in one of my properties. So they don't know. So they need to be able to like open it up, say, right, the property is a 5-bed. It's got a wardrobe, a chest of drawers. It's got in the rooms, anything else you want to know. And they haven't got to come in and say, Mark, what's this got in it? What's that got in it? And things like that. So I think, like you say there, by having everything under one roof, and, you know, if people are doing viewings for you, or tradespeople, or anybody's updating anything, just to be able to have it all in one place. I was blown away by it. And this is why I highly recommend that people do jump on the challenge. If you're listening to this after the challenge, then I know Holly does run challenge on a sort of a regular basis, but equally to that, you'll be able to reach out to her anyway, and you can still get a free demo or a free trial period, can't you?
100%. So like this challenge is actually going to be the last one until November. The reason being is because it's just going to like push you. It's like half the year. Let's get you kind of active. But if you do listen to this after the challenge, I mean, even if you're a day or two late, it's fine. You'll be able to get it. But we'll always have that recording available. So you may not be in with the chance of winning the £100 or maybe the free subscription, but you'll still get obviously the discounted rates, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And you can also have the recordings to kind of work your way through it, and access to us anyway. So we do one-to-ones. We've got like a little group, a community as well. So any questions, we can just help you through. It's honestly not a problem. But yeah, we thought we'd just we've been doing it every other month, and we just got to a point where let's just push it as in like the main one, and then November will be the killer, ready for the end of the year, you know. To get all our goals and stuff achieved and ticked off at the end of Q4. I know it's quite a business term, but as you say, you've got to run it like a business.
Of course you have. And of course you've got a big day coming up as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah, getting married. So that's another reason. So literally we would do normally the next one in, so what's it, July. So it'd be September, end of September, but literally we're getting married at the beginning of October. So it would be very difficult for me to be your kind of go-to runner leading up to that, because I think I'll be having other things on my mind.
I think we can give you that time off. Yeah, fair play. You've earned it. You've earned it. But
yeah, 5 years planning, 4 years since being engaged to. It feels like it's never ending. So it's going to be amazing that it's going to come now, and it's going to be it's going to be lovely. It's going to be really nice. Can't wait.
Oh, brilliant. And I wish the best to both of you as well. It'll surely be a lovely time for you both. And that's great. So about this time in the podcast, I like to do, I call it a quick fire round, but most of the time people take a bit of time to think about their answers, which is fine. So it's not a quick fire round, but it is, I like to ask a set layout of questions to people, because I'm more than anything else interested in the different answers that I get. So if you're all right, are you all right if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, why not? Let's go.
Okay, then. What's the best advice you've been given?
Oh, yeah, that's tough. Don't quit.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, don't quit. Keep going. Because I think if you quit, then you're never going to get there anyway, are you? Just got to keep going.
Yeah. No, I like that. If you weren't doing property, or weren't doing a property pipeline, what would you be doing, do you think?
Probably the skin stuff. Yeah. I mean, I think I would be still looking at ways of multiple streams of, you know, that whole earn money while you sleep thing, because I really got my head around that. I think that's amazing to be able to do that, give you options. But I do love, it's either skincare or it's animals, obsessed with animals. So I could be doing something with animals.
Nice. And you were telling me on your hen, you did you went and looked after a load of doggies, didn't you?
It was a little puppy yoga. So cute.
Yeah, that was it, puppy yoga.
So amazing. What a great business idea. I was like, right, literally Nick has to stop me sometimes, because I come away from things like that and I'm like, right, I'm now going to have to go to Thailand or India. I'm going to have to learn yoga so I can train it, so then I can do puppy yoga. That'll be my new business. And he's like, stop creating new businesses. I'm like, I can't help it. It's so fun. And I've actually, now that was in London, we did that hen do, but I've searched Sheffield, and there's little baby puppy dachshund, miniature dachshund yoga. There's kittens, there's bunny yoga. Nick was like, Holly, you've got 2 indoor bunnies that sit on your yoga mat in the morning. I was like, I know, I love them, but I want more animals. I love animals. So yeah, maybe it's the animal thing more than anything, because they're just adorable.
Yeah. Oh, they are. That's good. So if you could sit down and have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, anybody you like, who would you like to sit down and have dinner with and chat to?
Ooh, 3 people, dead or alive. God, maybe my granddad, because he died when I was a lot younger, so I would love to have known. I've got lots of memories of him, but I would love to have a proper chat now that I'm older. Really random one, which maybe people will be like, what, why? But Britney Spears. I've loved her my whole life, and I know it's cheesy music and everything, but she was like, came out when I was really young, and obviously her life's been mental. It would be like awesome to really hear from her how she is and find out about her life in a different way, because she's been through so much. And the last one, do you know what? I don't know. God, I'm trying to think. There's so many people I'm kind of thinking of. I keep thinking of like singers more than anything, because I love music and I guess they're quite impactful, you know. But maybe someone like Tony Robbins or something like that as a different spin, to get another angle on stuff.
Yeah, no, I like. It just intrigues me to see the different people that people, you know, would like to have a little conversation with and put them.
What's yours? I'm curious to know what yours was. Or is.
One of them would be my nan, because we lost my nan a few years back, and she was always so excited for her grandkids, and she had such an energy and a zest about her, that she was. I mean, she moved to Australia, I think, when she was 90. Just because she said, I've always wanted to move there. We lost my granddad, and she was like, I'm doing it. So for a 90-year-old to sell up her house and everything, up sticks, move to Australia. Now, her daughter lived there, so at least she wasn't going there with nobody there. But her dream had always been to live in Australia. So she still did it. And I just think, fair play. Do you know what I mean? Because that would scare a lot of people. So I'd love to have my nan there, sorry. I'd like to sit down with Jim Rohn. I'd like to have Jim Rohn at the table as well. I'm a massive, massive Jim Rohn fan. And I think somebody like Michael Jordan as well, because that man's just got so much passion to win that it would just be interesting to have those conversations with him, because, you know, I loved The Last Dance and some of the interviews on that where he's actually talking about how he was, and he gets quite emotional. So you can tell, you know, it did mean everything to him. But I don't think he honestly, genuinely wanted it in a bad manner. You know, a lot of people said, oh, he was a bit of a tyrant and things. But that was just because of his sheer desire to be the best. And, you know, we're all striving to be better. So I think that'd be my 3.
Awesome. Love it.
So thanks for that. Nobody ever asked me.
It's been really difficult, because with these things, I'm so used to asking loads of questions too. I've been wanting to kind of go, oh, what about you? What about you? And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to interrupt your flow.
No, it's fine. That's fine. That's what it's all about. I was going to ask you now. See, I'm a middle-aged man like my good self. What's the best thing I can do to look after my skin?
Ooh, so the best. Well, I would say there's 3 things.
Okay.
Vitamin C is amazing. It's an antioxidant, and you want more of like there's so many different types of vitamin C. So you want something like an L-ascorbic acid, it's called. I can send it to you if you need it. Retinol. So not retinol. There's lots of different retinols. It's basically a vitamin A is what retinol is. That helps with fine lines and keeping the skin young. And there's even stronger prescription versions as well, but you got to build it gradually. And SPF. You need your SPF, and it has to be a 50. Get a good 50 that's not thick or cakey. Again, I can recommend some, so that it doesn't feel heavy on your skin. And it's so important, because you're going to stop any further damage. You're going to prevent as well. So you're going to stop kind of that, and you're going to help maintain what you have. So you're going to keep what you have for longer, because a lot of the aging comes with the UV rays. So you want to kind of protect yourself from that. And like with women, especially, not like, you know, is they think that a 15 SPF in their makeup or foundation is going to cover it. It isn't. You do need to have a good SPF underneath your makeup as well. But yeah, 3 main things: vitamin C, vitamin A, and SPF. And you can't go wrong.
That's good. That is.
Helps with acne as well. If anyone's got acne, retinol's great for that. Pigmentation, it's great for. Fine lines, it's great for. It literally is the main 3.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Top tips there. I love it. Love it. That's not normally a question I ask, by the way. No, that's great. Thank you very much. I'll have a look at it. If you have got any recommendations that you want to ping across as well, I'm always welcome for it, because I am trying to look after myself better than I always have. I've normally just been one of these people that just gets on with it all, but I do appreciate the fact that, you know, we all got to look after ourselves, and time does catch up with us.
Oh, 100%. And like from the age of 30 onwards, your collagen actually starts to break down in your skin, and there's very little you can do other than try and maintain what you've got as much as you can, so it slowly depletes rather than completely goes. And the sun is I love the sun. I'm always in it, but you really got to make sure that you cover up just to help with that.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. So moving on, and this is the question that I normally ask.
Okay.
Do you have a top 3 podcasts or 3 podcasts that you enjoy listening to?
Yours. I started listening to yours, so you're up there. Ellie Mackay and Stephen Bartlett's.
Okay. Yeah, we get a lot of Stephen Bartlett one. He's very good. Yeah. It's quite good because before he was big and famous, my sister runs a social media company in London, and he had to pitch his company to her company once. So she had a demonstration, everything by him, and she said then you could tell there was a bit about that lad. And he's a good guy. So to see what he's achieving and what he's going out there and doing is an inspiration to everybody. And he seems a genuine guy with it. So it's good. I enjoy that as well.
Something so special about him, very genuine. And he actually was from Plymouth, where I'm from originally. And then he talks more about Manchester, but yeah, he was down that way. So I was like, nice. My neck of the woods.
And last but not least, do you have a top 3 books? Now, these books can be about anything. A lot of people, when they're here, they think, oh, they're going to be about property. Well, they can be, but what are your sort of top 3 books that you think you've read and you've been like, wow, I got so much from those?
Well, I've already mentioned one, Atomic Habits. Even when we do the the podcast book club, every time we get a new book, it always reminds us about something that we read from that book. So it always feels like it kind of always stems back to that one. So definitely that one. Who Not How, life changer for me. Like when I read that one, it was like, and then I read it again. And I was like, every time I read it, I outsource something new, and it's just like, yes, love this. So yeah, Who Not How. And then there is so many. Like I really loved the Chimp Paradox. I loved the 5-second rule, like all of these mindset stuff. But maybe I'll say the Rich Dad Poor Dad, because that is what got me here. And I know you said it doesn't need to be property, but without property, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I'm going to be doing. You know, the wedding, the dream wedding, the honeymoon, the 6 months travel that I've always worked so hard to do. And before property, no matter what I did, I just couldn't get there. It was almost like, in arm's reach. But now it's like it's happening, and it's all down to property. So, and that was the book that kind of kickstarted it all and opened our eyes.
I still remember I was laid up at the time. I had to have an operation on my ankle, and I was looking at property, and everybody kept on about this Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And of course, there's other property books. I thought I got to get it. And anyway, the actual book that turned up was only about. It was quite a small book, and not a small book as in small. It was thick, but it was like this mini copy, and I was just like, well, what have I ordered here? Anyway, I read it, and I still remember now just the aha moments, the light bulb moments going off, and it was just like, I've got this all wrong with the way I'm doing everything. You know, you look at assets, and they're just not assets; they're liabilities, and it's just like, oh, why is this not obvious? Why didn't they not tell us this? Because it makes so much sense. You know, let's get some assets that can actually pay for you to have the liabilities, rather than the other way around. And it's absolutely amazing book. And I have to say, have you read the Cash Flow Quadrant? One of his other ones?
No, I haven't actually. I've just got the Cash Flow Quadrant kind of board game.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Spent like 3 hours with Nick playing it, and even learned something from that as well. I was like, ooh, oh, we now need to do this next. That's going to be much better for our strategy next. It was really eye-opening. So you have to come round for a game.
Yeah, definitely. But definitely read that. I actually enjoyed that more than Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
I read it
Okay.
afterwards. Yeah, it's really good. It's more about investing and things. So that is
Yeah.
a good one to get. And it can really help you. But the other thing that I found out was that he brought the board game out, and because he was getting no sales, he wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad to help
Yeah.
sell his board game. Basically, at the end of the day, so it's funny how things happen. And of course, he's well known now, not for his board game. The board game's part of it, but for the
Yeah.
books and series and things. So
That's also a bit like that book, The One Thing. What's the one thing that's gonna, get those sales or, get it out there? And that was his one thing.
that's it.
Maybe.
That's it. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you on today and to be able to talk to you about your property, about the Pipeline Pro, property pipeline, sorry, and of course, skincare. Let's not forget about that as well. It's been really, really good. So if anybody wants to reach out to you or anything, what's the best way they can get hold of you?
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you can put the email in the links and stuff like that, but Instagram, Holly Jennings Property. Our property business actually is called Wolf and Sword Property Partners, and of course, Property Pipeline. It's all one word, Property Pipeline. We can give you all the links and the Instagrams and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And as we wrap this one up, have you got any final thoughts before we go?
Just saying thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely chatting with you. It's so nice and refreshing just to, it's very nice and it's real conversations. I love it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Well, like I say, once again, thanks for coming on. So if you are listening to this and Holly hasn't ran her challenge yet, then do get yourself booked on. If she already has started it or she has ran it, then reach out to them anyway, because as she said before, as Holly said, they do record it. So there may be a way for you to still do the challenge. You just can't win the voucher, but you've got to be in it to win it. So make sure that you put the time in to do so. Definitely check out the property pipeline for the price of monthly fee. It's an absolute no-brainer, but go and have a drive of it yourself. As Holly said, even if you're just starting out, it can help you with your leads. It can just put everything in one place and make it very, very easy for you to use and so cost effective. Up to 5 users for the same price. Unbelievable. So do check out the links in the comments, which I will put down there, so you can just click on a link and it'll take you through to be able to register for that. Get yourself registered. It's not going to cost you anything apart from a little bit of time, but it might be time and money well spent at the end of the day. So without further ado, it's been phenomenal to have you joining us here. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, or you think of somebody who maybe needs to hear this episode, please do feel free to share it on your social media links. Tag me in there as well, and I'll show you some love, because I'm always happy. I always massively believe what goes around comes around in life. But as always, make sure you know what it is that you want to achieve. You've got your vision. You break down those goals into bite-sized chunks and you take action on them daily. Move yourself forward, build the property business that you desire, and come and join me in the next episode. Bye for now.